You're looking for an air compressor that you can actually count on day after day, one that won't demand a whole toolbox of extra parts just to keep it running, and that feels like a solid investment instead of a flashy spec sheet. The big question most of us face is, will this unit sit quietly in the garage and fire up whenever I need a burst of air for a nail gun, a paint sprayer, or a tire inflator, or will it end up as another piece of equipment that gathers dust? Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. The hesitation comes from the fact that a lot of compressors promise horsepower but deliver a wobbling, noisy machine that trips breakers or leaks oil after a few months. When I started digging into the single-stage, 3 horsepower segment, the pattern was clear. A lot of budget models cut corners on the pump's durability, which shows up as a loss of pressure after a short run. The more expensive, oil-free units tend to be noisy and can overheat if you push them beyond a few minutes of continuous use. That's why the Ingersoll Rand SS3L3 caught my eye. It's marketed as a long-lift machine with maximum power and advanced safety features. Those buzzwords are fine, but what matters is how they translate into everyday work in a home workshop or a small auto shop. First, let's talk about the power delivery. A 3 HP single-stage pump is a sweet spot for most DIYers who need enough pressure for a standard inch pneumatic toolset, a paint sprayer, or a small tire inflator. In practice, the SS3L3 reaches and holds its rated 125 psi without hunting, which means you can run a nail gun for a whole morning and still have pressure left for a quick tire top-up. The maximum power claim isn't just a number on a spec sheet, it shows up when you compare it side by side with a 2 HP counterpart that starts to sag after about 10 minutes of continuous use. The extra horsepower on the Ingersoll Rand gives you that buffer, especially if you're doing projects that require steady airflow, like sanding with a pneumatic buffer or feeding a spray gun. Ease of operation is another area where this compressor feels different. The unit comes with a single-stage pump, which means the air goes straight from the motor to the tank, eliminating the extra compression stage that can make some models feel sluggish to start. The control panel is straightforward, a pressure gauge, a simple on-off switch, and a safety relief valve that releases excess pressure automatically. I've seen people fumble with units that have multiple knobs for timing, pressure, and flow, and they end up turning something off at the wrong moment, causing a sudden drop in pressure that can ruin a paint job. The SS3L3's layout keeps the learning curve shallow. You press the start button, watch the gauge climb, and you're ready to work. Safety is more than a checkbox on the manual, especially when you have a garage that also stores chemicals and tools. The advanced safety features here refer to an automatic shutoff that activates if the motor overheats, and a built-in pressure relief that prevents the tank from exceeding its design limit. In a real-world scenario, that means if you accidentally run the compressor with a blocked hose or a faulty regulator, the unit will stop before anything dangerous happens. It's a small peace-of-mind factor that can make a big difference for someone who isn't a seasoned mechanic. Now, who should actually consider buying this machine? If you're a homeowner who does occasional woodworking, a car enthusiast who inflates tires and runs a pneumatic impact wrench, or a small-scale contractor who needs a reliable source of air for a few hours each day, the SS3L3 hits the mark. Its 30-gallon tank gives you enough reserve to finish a batch of finishing nails or a small paint job without having to pause and let the pump catch up. The size is also manageable. It fits comfortably in a standard 2-car garage, and the wheels make it easy to roll out to a job site or onto a workbench. For people who already own a heavy-duty, oil-filled, 2-stage compressor but only need a portable backup, this single-stage model offers a lighter, quieter alternative without sacrificing pressure. On the flip side, the SS3L3 isn't the best fit for a high-volume auto body shop that runs multiple spray guns simultaneously for long stretches. Those environments often demand a larger tank, 60-gallon or more, and a 2-stage pump that can sustain higher CFM, cubic feet per minute, without overheating. If your daily routine involves running a sandblaster for hours on end, you'll probably find the single-stage design reaching its thermal limit sooner than you'd like. Also, if you need an oil-free unit because you're working in a clean room or food processing environment, this model isn't marketed as oil-free, so you'd be better off looking at a dedicated oil-free line. What about the downsides? The most noticeable trade-off is noise. At full throttle, the SS3L3 registers around 78 decibels, which is louder than a quiet dishwasher but comparable to most residential compressors in